didn't know anyone else was in here.
I'm sorry. I'm Annette Hargrove.
Catherine Rotoy.
Have we met?
I don't think so. Your father's the new headmaster at Manchester, right?
That's right. I was sorry to hear about your brother. Are you okay?
I'll be fine.
I'm Vanessa Zoltan.
And I'm Kristen Meinzer.
And this is Hot and Bothered. So, Kristen, we're just going to talk about the last scene today, so I will summarize it for everyone. We're going to start in the bathroom. So we have seen before Sarah Michelle Gellar as Catherine. She dresses in very prim and proper and adult ways, and she has this beautiful cross that she wears either as a necklace or sort of as a rosary around her arm. But we know that it is actually where she stores her cocaine, and it actually has this like nifty little like spoon that she can just snort right off of.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a storage container. It's like a distribution method also.
Yes.
And so we see her snort this cocaine, and then Reese Witherspoon as Annette comes out of the bathroom. They are in their school uniforms. It's the first time we actually see them in a school setting. They wash hands. They both know who the other one is. And Annette, says to Catherine, I'm so sorry to have heard about your brother dying. Catherine is like, oh, didn't you know him? And Annette plays it really cool and is like, just a little. We know that Annette has been given Sebastian's journal where he has written down, we don't know what, but he keeps copious notes on all of his sexual conquests.
Yes. And we know that because Catherine at one point makes reference to it using a gay slur, saying, are you essentially a blank with your pretty little journal, keeping your little stories and your feelings? Yeah.
So Annette says, I knew him a little. And then Annette says to Catherine, I know that this sounds cheesy, but when I go through a hard time, I turn to Jesus. And although Catherine has a cross in her hand, she sort of scoffs at this idea. Then we follow them into the school chapel where Catherine is eulogizing Sebastian. There's a photo of Sebastian up. She is talking about Sebastian like he was deeply troubled and that it was sort of his fault that he died. There's obviously a way that this could have been, it is kind of a heroic death, right? The reason he dies is because he saves Annette's life. Annette has been pushed into the street and he gets her out of the way. And there's just no mention of that from Catherine. Instead, it is, he was a very troubled young man and I'm going to try to do better. Then we see a lot of whisperings and titterings happening. A pamphlet is being handed out and the funeral gets sort of broken up through all of this gossip that's happening. And so we go outside and Annette and Cecil are handing out photocopies of Sebastian's journal. We see a couple of pages of Sebastian's journal. Included in it is that Reese Witherspoon, Annette, was the bet, but also he has been writing down all of Catherine's exploits. And so she gets outed as the true villain. The headmaster or parent, some adult, grabs the cross because it's mentioned in the journal that that's actually full of cocaine, and she sort of looks abashed and like she has really been called out. And Selma Blair and Reese Witherspoon look victorious. And then we have a final shot of Reese Witherspoon driving Sebastian's car and putting his sunglasses on and driving off, I don't know, to Long Island. I don't know where she's going. And that is the end of the film. Would you like to add anything that I missed?
Yes, this car was central to the movie in a couple of ways. The movie opens with Sebastian driving this car. For the entire opening credits sequence, he is in this car driving it. When the opening credits end, he's tossing his keys to an underling who's going to park his car as he goes into his high rise. And the car is what's at stake if Sebastian doesn't actually fulfill his end of the bet with Catherine as far as deflowering Annette, Reese Witherspoon. If he's not able to do that, Catherine gets to have this vintage, I forget, is it a Jaguar?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it's worth a lot of money. Everybody oohs and ahs over this car. This car is a big deal. I'm not a car person, so I don't really get it. I'm like, really? I don't know. And if he wins the bet, he gets to do whatever he wants to sexually with Catherine.
He can put his penis wherever he wants.
Yes, it's implied that there's going to be a lot of anal action happening if he wins this bet. And so, anal sex or a car? And then in the end, who gets the car? For some reason, it's Annette. Reese Witherspoon is driving away in this car. I don't know if he had a last will and testament. Isn't he 17?
Updated
How many
his
17-year-olds have a will and they would leave their car to... I mean, I don't have a will and I'm way older than 17. The kind of will I have is from like LegalZoom.com, and I did it a few years ago because I had to for one of my shows by the book. It made us write a will. And if not for that episode, I would not have that 3-line will that I have right now. So I don't really understand how she got the car.
She just emotionally, spiritually deserves it, Kristen.
I think the implication is the real winner in the end was her, because this is all about winning a game.
Yeah.
It's about cruel intentions. It's about dangerous liaisons. It's about screwing with people, and it's about coming out on top. And Reese definitely gets the car, which is symbolic of who is the winner in this movie.
Yeah, and she is the winner because she broke them, right? Like the Valmonts thought that they were going to break her, but she broke them. Kristen, do you think that Annette's arc is vindication, that she was right all along and that she was like good and had integrity all along? Or do you think we're supposed to read her actions in the last scene as Sebastian became a little bit more like Annette, not enough like Annette, so he had to die, but Annette became a little bit more like Sebastian?
I think the romantic might interpret this as love triumphed in the end. The woman who stuck by her guns, who did love her way, she was the real winner because she has the car. She's the real winner. But yeah, there are absolutely ways where she was underestimated, especially at the beginning. And in the end, I think she proved herself to not be naive and clueless. I think she was just as good at playing games as them, only the game playing that she did only really was exacting revenge on Catherine by airing her dirty laundry, as opposed to targeting innocent girls, which is what Catherine was doing.
Yeah. She does out herself, right? Like one page that we see in the journal is that she was the bet.
Yes.
Right? So it's not like she took herself out of the journal. I mean, the closing scene is coded as like she has become the new Sebastian, right? It is just like him in the opening scene in the car with the sunglasses. And yeah, the way that she says to Catherine, like, I turned to Jesus, and lies to her about, oh, I know your brother a little. It definitely seems like she's become a slightly corrupted or more world-weary version of herself.
I took the turning to Jesus thing as calling Catherine out on, we all know you're a cokehead who uses that crucifix to get high, not to find solace in the Lord. We all know what it is. That's what I took that line to be.
Right. But even that, right, like that is the kind of sarcasm that I don't think we would have expected from Annette at the beginning of the movie, right? Like I think that it's a sign that she's become a little bit of a player herself.
She can give some sass back.
Yes, she can. She can. I'm wondering what you make of this moment. There is a shot of Cecile, of Selma Blair, handing out the pamphlets. And she looks at Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I'm like, are you looking at her thinking, now we all know who you are? It feels like Cecile is being defensive of Sebastian in that moment. Like it is team Sebastian, Cecile, and Annette versus team Catherine.
Yeah.
Is that how you read that?
It's kind of odd because I think in the end what the movie's trying to say is that Selma Blair, Cecile, that she knows that everything that Sebastian did to her was because Catherine instructed it. So she is saying, screw you, Catherine. I know what you did. I know that anything Sebastian did to me, it was because of you. Because everything here at the end of the movie, I think the blame lands on women. This is another bit of subtext we didn't really talk about earlier when we talked about text and subtext. It's always the woman's fault. Any sort of sexual deviancy, any sort of sexual misdeed, it's always the woman's fault. And in this case, everything firmly lands on Catherine's shoulders. It's all her fault. Not Sebastian for the stuff he did or his desire to be cruel himself, but it's really because of Catherine.
Yeah, that strikes me as so weird that Cecile isn't more disturbed by everything it turns out that Sebastian did to her as well.
Cecile is just such a weird character, though, because she does, as I said before, for 99% of the movie, she kind of comes off as like a 7-year-old, like a not fully formed adult human. And then in that final scene, she's standing tall. She's moving in a different way. It's as if she has agency and has grown up. She's a woman now because she read Sebastian's journals and she's in control now. And it's just so odd. That whole character, Cecile, is just a weird character. So weird.
Yeah. Which leads to what I think that this scene contributes to what we were talking about last week with what this movie believes about love, which is, right, this idea that what happens in the bedroom is going to come out. Catherine says it to Cecile at the beginning of the movie, right? She says, we all do it. We just don't talk about it. And the secrecy around sex and love is how people feel shame and therefore how they feel controlled. Mm-hmm. And the end of this movie is the truth shall set you free. Cecile is guilty of nothing other than like having a crush on her cello teacher and then being taken advantage of by the Valmonts. Like she hasn't done anything else wrong. And that it feels like potentially what has been set free is this narrative of shame that she has had to be telling herself. So yeah, there's again this feeling of privacy and shame can often be interlinked. And there is just this real like love and the truth will set us all free, Kristen.
It'll set everybody free except Catherine. Catherine will not be set free from any of this.
No.
Yes. It definitely sets Sebastian free. He's totally fine now. He's a hero at the end of this.
I know. It's so weird. He does do one genuinely brave thing, right? He does save Annette's life.
That's not brave. It's a bunch of people tossling all around at once. It's Ronald.
No, she is thrown into the street and he chases after her into the street and throws her out of the way.
After several seconds, I'm like, is she going to get up at some point? Is somebody going to go and get her? But it's several seconds of her just laying in the street there. And I'm like, okay, nobody's going to be laying in the street on Central Park East where this is. That's no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you could say it's mildly heroic, but also it would have been more heroic, I think, if he wasn't in that situation in the first place.
He goes and tries to apologize, right? Like he does hand over his journal. I think we're supposed to think that the great act of courage is handing over his journal to Annette in the first place.
Taking that truth out into the world.
I mean, out into the world and, initially just to her, right? It's this great act of trust. Yes. I want to prove to you that I trust you and love you. And so here are all of my dirty secrets.
Yeah.
And now you have all of the power.
But funny enough, a lot of the dirty secrets aren't his. They're just tattling on Catherine, right? It's kind of a burn book.
I know.
It's kind of a Catherine burn book. So it's like, is it really about like, this is how much I trust you. I want you to see who I am. Or is it, here's documentation about why it's not my fault.
Yeah, it's hard to know because we don't really see the full extent of what's in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But absolutely. I think that's a great point.
I clearly don't want to forgive Sebastian.
Oh, no. Kristen, I'm wondering what you make of the last shot that we have of Catherine. What is her face? Is she scared? What is about to happen to her? She's humiliated. They like grab her cocaine from her in disgust. They're not worried about her. They're not like, oh no, she's a cocaine problem. And we should probably get her into some sort of support facility, right? There is this like coding around cocaine as like rich girl drug to stay up partying, not necessarily as a huge problem. I don't know. What do you make of that like micro moment at the end?
I think that her fall from grace is really what her face is saying. She is no longer the queen bee. She's no longer in control of things. And up until now, she's kind of controlled everything. She's kind of been in charge of all the chess pieces of everybody in this world. She's been able to use them as playthings if she wants to. And not only can she no longer use anybody as her plaything, but the fact that she does use people that way has been revealed, and it's shameful. She's not somebody who's ever going to be accepted in polite society again. This is bad. And what is the point of being Catherine if you can't be in charge of things and if you're not popular? What's the point?
Right. She's watching all the cards fall.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, even Sebastian, right? Like, they care so much about their reputations.
Yeah. I don't think that's far off from how most teenagers are. I just think it's a hyper elevated version of it in this universe.
Right. We always like to ask if you could rewrite the ending. Is there anything that you would change?
I think that maybe Sebastian would also be punished and not just Catherine in the end. And I know death is its own,
Right.
some people might say death is punishment enough for him, but I don't think so. As you said, Vanessa, the way he died, people could see that as heroic, the way he died. And so he got to die a hero in some people's eyes. He got to die revealing the truth of Catherine. He got to die putting everything out there and hopefully being absolved for being honest. And maybe in the end, maybe it would have been a little bit better if he also just went down in flames and went down in shame, and Annette still got the car.
Yeah.
And then maybe Ronald and Cecile would be in the back seat of the car together.
Yes. That's what I want too. I want Ronald and Cecile to be together. Like, I just want a hint of it because that is one of the things that was corrupted by Sebastian and Catherine. And so I want evidence that, like, now that the truth is out there, some things are rectified. It's not too late. Not everybody is dead. Some things can be fixed. And so rather than just like smug looks and redistribution of a jaguar, I would really like some evidence that like this has actually changed the way that people behave.
Yeah.
So,
and also some assurance that Ronald is not in the worst possible situation, which he might be. Yeah.
okay, well, next week I'll be back with Hannah McGregor and we are going to be watching Easy A. Kristen Meinzer, thank you so much for coming on. What an absolute delight to have you. Can you please remind people where, if they would like to hear more of you, where they should go?
Well, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you so much for giving me an excuse to rewatch Cruel Intentions, which was a lot of fun. If you want more of me, you can find me on a few different podcasts. I host By the Book, which is a show where my friend Jolenta and I live by the rules of a different self-help book each episode and record ourselves so you can hear how each book enhances or destroys our lives and our marriages and so on. That comes out once a month on Patreon at patreon.com/listen to By the Book. And the first original 10 seasons are in the same feed as our show, How to Be Fine. How to Be Fine is a show about how to be okay-ish rather than perfect. And all this season, How to Be Fine is about loneliness and friendship quandaries. And I also host a show called The Daily Fail. And on The Daily Fail, my friend Maura and I do comedic close readings of the tabloids. And the tabloids are always trash, but especially right now. So it's a good time to laugh at them so you don't cry.
Kristen, thank you so much for coming on. And I hope that we find another excuse to talk soon.
Oh, thank you. I would love that. I would love to be back. Thanks for having me.
Before we finish today's episode, everyone, I have just a bonus conversation to share a little bit with you about our upcoming Mary Oliver pilgrimage. I am joined by a very special guest, one of my all-time favorite humans who is leading this pilgrimage with me, Julia Argy. Julia, for those who don't know you, what other qualifications do you have besides being one of my very best friends in the world?
I work for Not Sorry as well. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. I run the pilgrimages, so I do a lot of the behind the scenes work to plan not only like what trips we're going to do, but also what we are doing, minute by minute on those very trips. So that is my role at Not Sorry, in addition to sometimes teaching classes and sometimes working on the trips themselves. And then I am also a novelist.
And teacher of writing.
And teacher of writing, true.
Yeah. You also have one of the best dogs.
Thank you, as do you.
True.
Maybe that's also why we're friends.
I do. I like to say that I got Julia as a friend and Rory as a puppy. I did get you guys within 24 hours of each other. It was a truly blessed 24 hours. So, Julia, this is our first writing-based pilgrimage. It's something that people have been asking us to do for a while. And we just hadn't found the right format or the right way in. Why do you think now is the time, this is the way? What is great about this?
I am so excited for this trip. I feel like you're totally right that it is kind of a hole that we've had in our pilgrimage programming that I'm really excited to start working on. The whole premise behind Common Ground pilgrimages has been reading, writing, and walking. And on all of the trips, we do a form of that. But the writing has generally been a journaling practice or kind of a less formal version of what we are going to be doing on the trip, which is going to be really diving into the craft of writing and writing as part of the sacred practice in your life. And you and I are the two staff for the trip, and you're a fiction writer and a nonfiction writer. I'm only a fiction writer. It's something that you and I are both really interested in, but we haven't been able to integrate it into our programming to date in this way. And so I'm really excited about being able to do that on this trip.
And I just feel like by running, we've been running these fall writing classes in conversation with NaNoWriMo, and you have taught through your MFA program and through other programs. And I just feel like over the last few years, you and I have really come to understand what we believe about teaching writing. And I feel like Mary Oliver's Upstream as a text was the big thing that occurred to you. I was going to say to us, but that occurred to you as a perfect book to both treat as sacred, with the reading as sacred, and use it as inspiration for writing. Because Mary Oliver is this deeply spiritual writer, and she actually has this book about the craft of writing.
Yeah, and she does, funnily enough, the book is kind of set into 3 sections, and the first section is about her writing practice, and then the second section is about her reading practice and talks about the writers that she has found really informative. And although she doesn't phrase it as such, she is almost doing a sacred reading of those and has written essays reflecting on the writers. And then the third section is a lot of essays about the natural world. And so it felt like it really made sense for this trip, where we're going to be at a private ranch, and it's going to be a really small group, and we're going to be super immersed in writing, reading, and the natural world. So as soon as I was brainstorming, what book do I think could be a good way to get into the subject, it felt like a really perfect option.
I don't know if you remember this. When I had my first endometriosis surgery, you bought me Upstream to read. And I remember loving it while in my drug-induced healing process. But I'm really excited to reacquaint myself with the book because, I feel like writing about writing is really hard. And the people who do it well, it is this deep magic trick that they can pull off. And Mary Oliver, obviously, is someone who is capable of harnessing things that are ephemeral, including the process of writing.
Mm-hmm.
You're someone with a very clear sort of thesis to your approach on teaching or facilitating writing. So I'm wondering if I'm a writer who's thinking, oh, it absolutely would be great to like go set aside some time to focus on writing, how would you say to them, like, this is how we're going to be talking about writing, right? Because it's a space for some people, but it's not a space for everybody, right? If you are somebody, I think, who really wants a silent retreat in order to focus on your writing, or to be, listening to bird song in order to write about the natural world, right? Like, there are so many different ways to approach teaching writing, and we are doing one of them. We're not doing all of them.
Yes. So I'm really excited. I think the retreat is going to have a great balance of class time and free time and activities. So in the class time, we're going to be talking about both Mary Oliver's book, and then we're going to talk half about Mary Oliver's book in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we're going to have craft classes that you and I are going to run, depending on your genre, where we really dive into how the books that we love and the books that we admire work, and then how we can apply those lessons to our own writing. And so that's thinking about things like plot and character and pacing, really the backbones of your project and how you can think about them as you're building them up. And we've told people that it's good to come with something that you're in the early stages of and really need that developmental space in order to, make a big push on the project and think about the way you want to move forward outside of the retreat. And so I think getting that baseline structure down for the project that you're working on in such a contained space, I think is going to be really helpful for people who are kind of starting on a bigger project or starting on a new project or doing something different than they've done before.
Yeah, I just feel like starting a writing project, I mean, people talk about this, right? Just like the how deeply scary the blank page is. Mm-hmm. And what I'm hoping that you and I are going to be able to do is actually really similar to offering people like Lectio Divina. If you hand someone a book and you're like, go treat it as sacred, I think that that's really overwhelming. But if you're like, here, pick a sentence, right? And like, here are 4 steps that will lead you to something. We're trying to do that with writing. We're trying to sort of, right, like say, what is it? Like, how do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite, right? But like, not only creating the bite by bite, I don't like this metaphor because we're both vegetarians, but trying to create structure in order to create freedom, right? Which we all know that freedom with absolutely no structure, I think, is just overwhelming and actually becomes suffocating. But if you create some rules and structure, it gives you a playground, right? It's not just like an open field, but you can create some actual things to respond to. And I think people are afraid to do that because they're afraid it sounds prescriptive or restricting. And you and I just sort of both really believe in it. Choosing a set of rules to follow when approaching your writing is going to make your writing process clearer, and then the final product like something more tangible that you can work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love the beginnings of projects for that reason. I'm big into the blank page. I love the blank page. And I feel like it's one of the most exciting points in the project is, when you have a lot of ideas, but you don't have a lot written down is, I think, one of the most exciting times that you can be working on something.
Yeah. I just am at a point in a project where I have a first draft of a chapter and I'm going to go in and diagram it and be like, okay, am I doing this in an order that makes sense? And I'm so excited. I love reading it and then going in and diagramming whether or not I think I'm making a compelling argument. Or is this even an argumentative essay? Is this more of an exploration of an idea essay, right? Like that, I'm in that like crafty moment of this writing. And it's my favorite part of the writing process also. My question for you, Julia, is do you think we're going to see moose on this trip?
I can't confirm moose for you, but we are going to be staying at a working ranch. And so there will be a lot of animals there that we will see. And as I was thinking about this, I identify as like an aspiring horse girl. I haven't had the opportunity to be around horses, but had I really had the opportunity to be around horses, I would have been a horse girl. Yeah. So I'm very excited to be by horses and the people who work at the ranch are very happy to have people like interact with the horses and learn about animal care. There are chickens, there are cows, there are goats. And so it's on a river and it's kind of in this valley with these beautiful cabins and mountains all around it. So it's going to be really, really gorgeous. And I'm so excited to sit on an Adirondack chair just like for, I don't know, an hour a day. Just sit down and look.
And our host is like, if people don't love to hike, don't worry. I will drive them around so that they can see the beauty of the property. I was like, okay, we accept.
Yeah, so it is a great trip for people who want flexibility about, I don't want to hike today. I really want to be working on my book. That will really be an option for people to do, as opposed to, on a different trip if we're like walking to go eat lunch. This is in such a beautiful, accommodating, centralized location that it is going to allow flexibility in our itinerary for people who have varying interests or various, workflows.
And it definitely has more retreat than pilgrimage vibe in that way, right? Like we're not getting in cars once we get there unless you want to go on a Jeep tour of the property. Like you arrive there and you're there, which I'm really excited about not being in a car for the better part of a week, personally. Everybody, I understand if you can't come on this trip, but what I would like for you to do is send me good vibes on the possibility of me finally seeing a moose. This has been like a long time dream of mine. I have tried to see a moose in many different settings, and I'm just thinking July 29th to August 2nd, everybody please be thinking moose for Vanessa, like energy. Manifest this for me. I mean, like, come and help me make it happen. But even if you can't come, I just really want your vibes on this. Julia's definitely going to get to live her horse girl fantasies. I would like to live my moose girl fantasies. So go to readingandwalkingwith.com. We have payment plans. This is a really special thing that we're able to do. People have created the space for us to use their ranch, and we're really excited to be able to offer just a totally different kind of programming that I think that Julia, who co-founded the pilgrimages with us in 2018, has really just spent the last 7 years building up a skill in order to do this. And Julia, I'm really grateful to you that you're willing to share this talent that you have, both as a writer and a teacher. And I can't wait to watch you live out your horse girl dreams.
Thank you. And I will be every step of the way behind you from my Adirondack chair looking for moose for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You've been listening to Hot and Bothered. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. You get a bonus scene study, and we're talking about Ryan Phillippe's butt in our scene study this week. And if you love the show, please tell us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are listening to my wonderful voice right now. This was a Not Sorry production. I'm the executive producer. We are edited and produced by Ariana Nettleman, and we are distributed by Acast. Thanks as always to our soulmate level patrons, Molly Reilly, who we would chase through an airport to declare our love to, Becky Boo, who we would wait for hours on the top of the Empire State Building for, Elizabeth Schweinsberg, whose heart we would play a game of one-on-one basketball for, Lauren Byron O'Connell, who we would call up on stage to dance with in front of the whole summer camp, Claudia Hammerman, who we would give the whole door to float on, even if there was room for us both, Avi Lichtenstein, who we would make every person in the kingdom try on a shoe for, Kristen Hall, who we would jump off the Brooklyn Bridge and travel through a time portal to spend the 19th century with, Shiri Yadlin, who we would write a sonnet about and read it in front of the whole class, and Delia Rose, who we are majorly, totally, but crazy in love with. And thanks to our wonderful team, Julia Argy, Nikki Zoltan, AJ Ramos, Courtney Brown, Anissa Ahmed, Danny Langley, and Stephanie Paul Sell.